We are reading Meet Maycira Costa by Nora Brooke for the second time. So make sure that you have your worksheet ready to go, your pencil is sharpened, you're focused, you're sitting up straight, you're following along. Make sure you pause the video when I give you the instructions to pause so that you have time to write, and you can always rewind the video if you need to reread or re-listen to the information again. So let's go ahead and get started. We've gone over the vocabulary. I'm just going to stop to give you the questions, and they're on your worksheet. So here we go. Squish, splash, slosh. That's the sound of feet walking through a wetland. To Dr. Maycira Costa, that sound is like music. Dr. Costa studies wetlands. Find out why she loves these soggy spaces. So before you move on, get your pencil ready. We're going to visualize, and visualize means that you need to use your mind to create a picture or to hear a sound, or you need to think in your mind before you just answer this, okay? So your job is to describe what it feels and sounds like to walk over wet, soggy land. Maybe you've done that before, so you have background knowledge in walking over wet, soggy land. Describe it. What does it feel like? Is it cool? Is it hot? Is it squishy? Is it wet? Is it sticky? Is it dry? Is it scratchy? Pause the video and answer number 1. Okay, question number 2. You're going to make inferences. Why does the author say sounds of the wetlands are like music to Dr. Costa? Now remember, when you're making an inference, you're taking background knowledge plus information from the text, and you're making a really good guess. So doing that, why does the author say the sounds of the wetlands are like music to Dr. Costa? Pause the video and answer number 2. Okay, let's keep going. Here's the first question. What are wetlands? And Dr. Costa says, wetlands are places where the soil is always or almost always wet. They are often found where land meets water, such as narrow ocean shores and the banks of rivers and lakes. Low areas on land and watersheds might also have wetlands. Marshes, bogs, wet meadows, potholes, and swamps are all wetlands. What makes wetlands special? Why do you study them? And here's her answer. Wetland ecosystems are very important. They are a habitat for many kinds of plants and animals. They help control floods. They can even filter or clean water. I want to learn how climate changes and human activities like farming affect wetlands. I hope my work helps people understand wetlands and value them. So get your paper ready and your pencil ready. We're going to answer 2 more questions. Question number 3 on your paper is a cause and effect. And we've talked about cause and effect, right? Something happens that makes something else happen, right? It causes something else to happen. So here's the question. What kind of things could affect wetlands? Name them. Use details from the text. So this is the part where you get to show off. And you get to write a really cool response, and it might sound something like this. Many things could affect wetlands. A few details from the text include, and then you can list what things could affect wetlands. Okay, question number 2. Now you're going to make connections. So you have to really think on this one because you're going to make a connection. It's not necessarily going to be an answer from the book. So think of a time you saw a wetland in images or in real life. Now this is where you can't say I've never seen one before, because here's some images of wetlands in the text, right? So think of a time you saw wetlands in an image or in real life. How do your ideas about them compare with Dr. Costa's ideas? So what do you think of when you think of wetlands? And how does that compare to Dr. Costa's ideas about wetlands? Do you have the same ideas as Dr. Costa? It says right here, what makes them special and why do you study them? This might be a good place to reread the text to see how your ideas compare with hers about wetlands. Pause the video, answer question number 4, take your time. Where are the wetlands you study? And she says, I study the Pantanal and Amazon wetlands in South America. They are the largest tropical wetlands in the world. The Pantanal alone is almost as big as the state of New York. How are you able to study such large areas? I look at images taken from satellites orbiting high above Earth. They show where the water is and how much sand, dirt, and other sediment is in it. I also go into the field and take samples. When you are in the field, do you ever worry about things like quicksand? No. Humans are not as dense as quicksand, so we easily float in it. If you step in quicksand, do not panic. You will not sink. What advice do you have for young explorers? Be curious about nature. Do not be afraid. No matter where you live, there is probably a wetland nearby. Gather your friends and family and go explore it. So you have 2 questions left, and these 2 questions are on the back of your paper. So make sure you flip your paper over. This question is, what does Dr. Costa say about quicksand? Does this remind you of another selection you've read? Explain. What does she say about quicksand? What does she say up here about quicksand? Then the second part of the question is, does this remind you of another selection you've read? Your answer should be yes, because we have read about quicksand. Pause the video and answer the question. Okay, the last question is a cause and effect question. How does technology developed for space exploration affect Dr. Costa's research on wetlands? Now, she talked about how technology for space exploration, how she uses it. So you're going to have to go back into the text and reread or listen again. How does technology developed for space exploration affect her research? Answer the question and you are done.